All right, and good evening to all of our viewers in Arkansas, Oklahoma, and in Southwest Missouri. I'm Joshua Weisel, and we're going to just run through this forecast here for this evening. A little bit later update. We've had some things to work on, and we've had some power outages off and on throughout the day, so we appreciate you, and your patience for these updates, everything along the lines there. Overnight tonight to tomorrow morning, right around the mid-upper 70s pretty much is going to be the morning lows as we head into tomorrow morning. Another warm and humid start to the day, so we're not going to be talking about any sort of major changes to the forecast. It's going to be warm tomorrow morning, and unfortunately, it's not going to get any cooler into the afternoon. In fact, here's a look at what we got for those highs tomorrow afternoon. Pretty much everyone's going to be in the triple digits, minus maybe a couple locations in northwest Arkansas, where we'll be in the upper 90s. And then we're also going to be talking about not only triple digit highs, but highs anywhere from 100 to 105. Now, not everyone's going to see 105 degree temperatures, but notice there's some areas on the map that are showing that 105 degree mark for the afternoon highs tomorrow. It's going to be dangerously hot tomorrow. So if you're not in tune to the heat safety and all the information, to protect yourself from the heat, what to do if you're outside working, and all of our other heat safety information, visit weather225.com today. We have a section that's labeled Weather Safety, and when you click the Weather Safety tab, not only do we have severe weather, lightning, flooding, all the usual safety tips, we also have a section for heat safety in there as well for you and even for your pets, so be sure to check that out. Not only is the actual temperature going to be hot, but it's also going to be dangerously hot with those heat index values, and that's why many areas are going to be dealing with extreme heat warnings, and that's for a large portion of the area. Other locations are going to see heat advisories, but I think that there's a chance that maybe some areas see a little bit of an upgrade just depending on the heat that we get tomorrow that are not already included in the extreme heat warning. And that's because, well, notice some of those areas that are right around the 110 degree mark, that's a little bit closer to the heat advisory criteria. Above that, that's when you start getting into the extreme heat warning criteria, and that is where we're seeing, at least as of this evening, the max forecasted heat index values are going to be right around the 115 degree mark for a large portion of, Stillwater, Tulsa, Poto, and Fort Smith, so parts of the River Valley in Oklahoma. That's where those heat index values could reach upwards of 112 to 115 degrees. It's going to be hot tomorrow. In fact, it's going to be dangerously hot. So, keep in mind, check up on friends and family who may have any sort of illnesses or issues that, are impacted by the heat, because it's going to be one of those days where you're really not going to be able to escape the heat. In fact, today, I know many of you were probably noticing that some of your ACs may be having a little bit of a problem kind of catching up with the activity today, because while it's not as hot as it was, or it's going to be tomorrow that we saw today, it's still going to be quite hot out there. And then when you factor in those 115 degree feels like temperatures, it's going to be a warm afternoon, to say the least. Please take it seriously with the outdoor safety. If you're working outside doing physical labor or anything like that, it's not going to be one of those days where if you're working outside, or if you work out outside, or any physical activities for a long period of time, it's not going to be one of those days where you can take a 5-minute break in the shade, right? It's going to be one of those days where you might need a 35 to 45-minute break in the AC before resuming those activities. And I wouldn't be doing those for too long either. So if you're a construction worker, contracting, yard work, anything along the lines there, please take care of yourself tomorrow. It's going to be dangerously hot, and we want you to stay hydrated. It's not going to be one of those days that you can just kind of power through and, a couple breaks in the shade here and there, that type deal. You're going to want the extended breaks in the shade with the AC. It's going to be dangerously hot tomorrow. Please take care of yourself. And it's going to be really warm out there. There's a 10% chance for a couple pop-up showers. Notice it's not for the entirety of the area, mostly parts of Arkansas and southwest Missouri coverage area. Only about 1 or 2 of those storms it could develop. It's going to be kind of like what we saw the last several days, where you get 1 or 2 storms that develop, nothing else, just a pop-up potential. And as you can see with the rainfall forecast, only a couple tenths of an inch are expected with the rain. Not all of us are going to see it, but there could be some rainfall activity tomorrow. Here's a look at the Foghorns morning fog outlook, and the good news is once you start getting into this period of time where it's so warm and it's so humid, you really, start to eliminate those ingredients needed for patchy fog activity. So we're not expecting any sort of major impacts in the morning, but it's always good to show you the Foghorns Morning Fog outlook just to let morning commuters know what to expect. So we appreciate them sponsoring the channel. And it's an important graphic too, because it's a big deal for morning commuters. You want to make sure that the roads are not going to be reduced visibility. And so even though there's no issues looking likely for tomorrow, the good news is we're gonna, have the latest updates with all these forecast segments, and that's thanks to Foghorns in Fayetteville and in Springdale. So huge shout out to them. Support them like they support us, and very appreciative to have them as a sponsor here on the channel. So shout out to them. Be sure to check them out. Coming up, we're gonna have a look at that forecast, and I'm gonna let you know. Are we gonna see these temperatures go down anytime soon? The answer is yes and no. You'll want to see more on that here coming up. If you like our media and forecast, be sure to support us today on Patreon. You can advertise with us this storm season and throughout the year. Contact us today for availability and pricing. Weather 225 since 2015. All right, now that we've gotten through the forecast segment for tonight and tomorrow, let's take a look at the extended forecast. We're starting off with the 6 to 14 day outlook, and this is going to be from the Climate Prediction Center. And bad news is, the answer to that question, is it going to get any cooler anytime soon, is yes and no. 7-day forecast, I'll show you where the temperatures, and I'm going to say this in quotations, are cooler in the foreseeable future. But as we make our way forward, notice we're still going to keep these temperatures going into the above average range. And, there's a couple different things too for the foreseeable future. By the end of the 7-day forecast, which this is the 6 to 14 day outlook. And so, it's kind of within parts of the 7-day forecast, they'll start to see this. There's an area of high pressure that's going to be making its way into the Central Plains. There's also a tropical system that by the time we get to this weekend, it'll make its way further along the Gulf Coast into South Texas. That's going to help pump some moisture into our neck of the woods. And that means that when we start to see those temperatures re-increase by the time we get to this weekend, it's also going to be accompanied by some high moisture thanks to that system, and there could be some more impacts with the, incredibly high heat index values. We'll need to keep an eye on that. For the foreseeable future, though, the actual air temperature looks to be not only above average, but well above average, and then we're still kind of in that average range for precipitation. So that's a look at the extended forecast. Let's take a look at what we got for the 7-day forecast. There it is. So, as I mentioned, by the time we get to the late week into the weekend, temperatures are going to start to warm up once again. We're going to have more of that high pressure kind of move back into the area. We have a couple opportunities for maybe some showers and storms. Really right now looking pop up to scattered. Nothing widespread. We're not talking an all-day washout, but that would be later in the day on Friday. Low rain chances pretty much all the way into early next week. Very low, only about 20 to 30%. Just depends on the day. We're going to see a hot day tomorrow. A system arrives, late Tuesday into early Wednesday. The temperatures, it is going to be a notable cool down. You're not going to feel it though, because obviously we're still in the 90s with humidity. And then we kind of, plateau with those temperatures Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's when that high pressure starts to swing back in. That's when the moisture starts to ramp back up. Early next week, late weekend as well. It's looking a little bit rough with those temperatures. 7-day forecast for the River Valley, same thing. A little bit of a plateau with those temperatures for a couple of days once we get past that cool down. And I say cool down in quotations because we're still looking at potentially triple digits. Now, that may change by the time we get to tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon. We're just going to have to wait and see, the progression of that system and some other factors. We'll have more on that most likely by midday tomorrow. And then notice a little bit of a plateau. And then we're back into the triple digits by late weekend. In fact, maybe even early weekend as well. Upper 90s into the triple digits by the time we hit Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And unfortunately, that's going to be accompanied by that moisture. Here's a look at what we got for, Northeast Oklahoma. Very similar forecast to the River Valley, triple digits. A little bit of a cool down. I say that in quotations because is it really a cool down if we're still into the upper mid 90s? You're not going to feel a cool down. It's still going to be warm out there. And then we got some triple digits into the weekend early next week. Southwest Missouri's also got some triple digits tomorrow. A little bit of higher rain chances by the time we get to Friday. Maybe near triple digits once again on Sunday. We'll just have to wait and see. That's a look at your evening forecast. Thank you so much for tuning in to Weather 225. Please stay cool. Please take care of yourself tomorrow because it's going to be warm out there. So We'll be here. We'll track all of the information. We'll let you know the very latest as well. Keep it here with Weather 225.